embarking on changing the oil on a 2014 Audi Q5 2.0 turbo engine. The first step is to figure out where everything is, because I've never done this before. This plastic cover, engine cover, comes off with a good tug. It needs to be pulled fairly hard, but it does come off, which I've already done. So removing that, putting it aside, and here's the oil filter cap. I'll take that and put that aside. The oil filter is right here, and I've already got a replacement for it. So this ought to be quite easy to remove. Now what I'm going to do is get under the car and remove the bottom panel there, which covers the engine from the underside, and then we'll go from there. So seeing the underside here, there are 7 torque screws here. This is one of them, for example. That's the other, and there are 3 more on the far side. So these are all the torque screws. Let's see if we can get this to focus. And then there are also on the far side here, there are these plastic screws. I think they're plastic. Those look like just regular flat screwdriver heads, and there are 3 of them. So I can't actually put my finger there right now while I'm holding the camera, but they seem to join the front panel with the back one. I believe we only need to remove the front panel. So the correct size for the Torx bit is a Torx T20. Right, let's see if we can focus on this. There, just 20 there, T20. That's what we need for to undo these screws over here. Let's see, can we get this focused here? Maybe not. We got to remove 7 of them. So I use this stubby flat screwdriver to loosen these rare. Let's see, get this in focus. There. So there are these screws over here, over there, there. So what I did was I poked this in and turned it. Turned out it doesn't have to be turned much, only maybe a turn. But the slot is really wide, and it will very easily slip. So I don't have a screwdriver which has a fatter blade than this. You want a screwdriver with a really fat blade. So what I did was I just pushed really hard and turned left, turned anti-clockwise, and then it works loose. So there's just a couple of turns. So it does come out, but be aware that this will take strength, and you should avoid stripping the head, which might not be pleasant to deal with. So all 3 of them come off quite easily, and then, so this is loose now. And then I can remove the front. I'm assuming there are actually more than 7 in the front. It turns out that there are some screws on the side here, right by the wheel. So there are 2 more here. So 7 plus 4, 11, I guess. So plenty of Torx action going on here. So here's the front part of the pan off. Turns out that not only are there 3 screws there on the aft section that were connecting to the rear section of this pan, there are also 2 more here and there on the other side. So it's a good idea to take those off. So all 5 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, before you is to take them off before you take the front ones off. Otherwise it kind of flops around and makes it a bit harder. Another thing, it turns out that these screws, let's see if we can focus this thing, these screws aren't, they do have actually a kind of Phillips opening, so a Phillips screwdriver might have done better than the flat blade that I tried to use. So I'm going to try that when I put them back on. So here apparently is our oil pan drain plug. This guy right here. Looks like another Torx, and we'll find out what kind of Torx that is. So this is I've never actually seen a drain plug like this, but there's much that's new about this car, including the car itself. So it turns out to be a T45 Torx bit. Here it is. Note this is not an Allen key, so it would probably not be a good idea to use an Allen key on this, which might appear to fit, but will probably strip your head there. So see this nice and snug. The one size smaller appears to fit as well, so don't use that. This is the one that's snug, doesn't move about when you rotate it. And I'm gonna use I'm gonna position the oil pan, a drain pan underneath, and hook up my ratchet to this guy and unscrew it. So here's the drain plug, slightly loosened. What I did was I actually set the pan aside for a moment, broke it loose, and then started to loosen it by hand. Well, let's see if I can work it the rest of the way out with. So it comes off by hand, making a mess of my glove, but that's what gloves are for. And we should get a nice steady stream of black gold. There we go. And I'm going to now try and figure out how to turn the video off without getting oil on it. Perhaps I'll press the lock button. So now I'm going to remove the oil filter. I have this, what I call my handcuff oil wrench, which I bought many years ago. I think it might be possible for someone a bit stronger than me to take this out by hand. That is, just rotate it by hand. But I'm using this instead. There are a number of other designs of wrench that you can buy. Just make sure there's one that fits this guy here. So now it's worked loose, and I believe now I'm strong enough to take it out very slowly. There. It comes off, and now I actually don't know how much oil it's gonna drip. We'll find out, won't we? So the suspense is killing me. But if they're, I looked at the new filter. This is a very different design from the ones we're used to, which hang off the bottom of the engine. So maybe this is all very clever and it drains directly into the cavity here, but we'll see. What do you know? Okay. This is just an awesome design, and I could kiss these guys on both cheeks, except that the designers are probably German and wouldn't take kindly to it. This is a great design. Look at that. Look at that. They should make all cars like this. So, the engine oil drain, unless I mess up now, I should be able to do this whole thing without having spilled a drop. That's fantastic. The replacement filter I have is a Wix 57561, not an OEM VW Audi MHO, which I've never heard of actually. But they are more or less identical. The whole pattern is a bit different underneath, but nothing special, except that these filters are a bit more expensive than our conventional designs. I got this for about $13–14, this guy. But yeah, it says to apply a thin film as usual to the rubber gasket here, which I'm going to do. It also says to tighten until it bottoms out and then tighten to 20 Newton meters. I have no way of torquing this guy down really accurately, so it's going to be hand torqued the way I've always done, so we'll see. Hopefully that's okay. So I have the new filter in here. What I did was I tightened it by hand until it until it made contact, and now I can feel the resistance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it now 3/4 of a turn. I'm going to look at this and turn it so that I'm going to use this the writing here as a guide to tell me. So 3/4 of a turn will mean like this writing over this white writing over here should be over there. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, there you go. I've managed to turn it bit by bit. The filter edge that I have isn't that great for this purpose, but I was able to do it by advancing it little by little. And I got it most of the way there by hand, and then moved it the rest of the way. I scuffed the filter a little bit, I think, but no harm done. Now I'm going to figure out how much oil this engine holds and fill her up. So before I fill her up, of course, I should put the drain plug back on, which I'm going to do now. Which ought to be fairly straightforward. Here we go. I screw it in by hand. And then tighten it without trying not to drop my set it to tighten, not to loosen. There we go. Doesn't need a lot of tightening in my experience. So there you go, and that should do it. A little bit of on the sides here. I'm going to wipe it off, but that's pretty much it. So the car user's manual calls for 4.9 quarts, and I'm going to use Oval 1 5W30. I've got a box full of it here, but I'm also going to use, actually, I've got one leftover quart of 5W40, so I'm going to finish that off, and then use this guy, use these, the 5W30 for the rest of it. So here we go. So here's our first quart. And here's the fifth quart. I'm not going to pour all of it because it asks for 4.9. So I'm going to do half of this bottle and then check the engine level, the engine oil level with the dipstick, and then add as necessary. And that seems like about half. Okay, perhaps those of you who know more about their Q5 than I do and were watching this video were probably just waiting for me to find out that this car has no dipstick. There's a little plug thing here which you can take out, and voila, no dipstick. So it turns out that you actually have to turn the car on, use the MMI system to figure out what the oil level is. So what I did was I put in a little bit more than 4.5 quarts, maybe 4.6, 4.7, and since I did drain all the oil, I expect that this is about right. So it probably won't tell me anything. It probably won't tell me to fill oil or whatever. I don't know how to use that yet. We'll figure it out in just a little bit. Got the engine running, and I'm going to make sure there are no leaks before I shut it down. My finger over it. No moisture, no oil. That's all good. So I'm going to close it up, and then we'll figure out how to check the oil level. And to close it up, of course, I have to do the reverse. I have to fasten the front fastener first, and then the rear one, and then it should be good to go. So I needed both hands to put this back on the panel, so I wasn't able to shoot at the same time. But the basic idea is there are these little fingers on this front end which engage here. So you hold it and engage it with one hand and put in as many of these screws as you can by hand so that it stays up. And then you can put in all of the rest and tighten them. That's all there is to it. So in the car settings at the MMI, you can go to the oil level menu. If your engine is turned on, this is what it's going to say. So what I'm going to do is wait for the engine to warm up. I assume that means operating temperature. The temperature gauge will probably read halfway when the engine's warmed up. So I'll probably drive it around, make it warm, get it warmed up, and make sure that it's okay. So this is very strange. I think this is a very odd design, because what that means is that if you're really low on oil, you won't know it until it tells you after you drive it around or get it warm. Seems stupid, but anyway, that's what it is. And I'm reasonably sure that the oil level is very close to okay right now. But anyway, this is the official way to check.